He did a documentary about trans issues. He confronts people about gender affirming care and all these different things. And it turns out that he's just a liar. He's just a liar.
David Pakman is losing his mind after Matt Walsh went on the Joe Rogan Experience and tore the woke left to shreds, as well as Joe Rogan. And of course, like I said, David Pakman is melting down. He's freaking out because Matt Walsh went ahead and told the truth on the Joe Rogan Experience. Let's get into this clip here where David Pakman loses his mind at the things that Matt Walsh said here to Joe Rogan.
An expert to the right wing about gender and trans issues. He did a documentary about trans issues. He confronts people about gender affirming care and all these different things. And it turns out that he's just a liar. He's just a liar. And there was a very interesting moment wherein yesterday on Joe Rogan's podcast, Matt Walsh was saying millions of trans people are on puberty blockers. Hundreds of thousands of minors, prepubescent girls are getting gender reassignment surgery and blah, blah, blah. It's all untrue. Let's start with the clip. It's fact checked by Joe Rogan's producer, Jamie, during the interview. And everything. This is a clinic. This is a clinic in critical thinking. Let's listen.
How many people have had this done?
Depends on what. I don't think we have exact numbers, but
we do have numbers. We have very good numbers on what's happening in the United States. There is data for how many procedures of just about every kind are being done.
We're talking about the drugs. Millions.
Okay, so millions on puberty blockers. All right, let's continue.
You're talking about hormone blockers?
Yeah.
Millions of kids have been on hormone blockers? Really?
I'm sure someone's going to fact check me on it, but my guess is that we're into the millions now at this point. Yeah, that would be my guess. I can say for double mastectomies, the most.
Okay, so millions on hormone blockers, millions of minors on hormone blockers. The best data I was able to find is that there's 120,000 children struggling with what is often called gender dysphoria. Some small fraction of those at some point might take some of these medications. Okay. He says millions a year. The total number with gender dysphoria, 120,000. Only a fraction of those are taking these medications. So first lie. Do the numbers really even matter to these people? I don't think so.
Well, honestly, do they matter though? Number one, are they forced? Is every doctor forced to report these numbers accurately? Number two, does it actually matter whether it's hundreds of thousands or millions of kids being put on these things? I kind of feel like if there's 5 kids being put on these things, it's still way too many and it's still very harmful to them. I mean, dude, I don't even need to say it. Matt Walsh has said it a million times. Joe Rogan says it. Everybody understands. I mean, I'm 26 right now. I'm a completely different person than when I was 20. I look somewhat the same. Other than that, when it comes to my personality, when it comes to my beliefs, it's completely different. Now, if I think back to my 7-year-old self, I don't know if I have a single belief that stayed the same between that time. I don't know what the hell I was doing when I was 7. I was playing in the mud and stuff. It's ridiculous that any child undergoes any sort of procedure like this. Anybody who's under the age of 25, I think, or at least 21, but I still even think 21 is a bit too young. Yeah, the numbers do matter. If it's a difference between hundreds of thousands and 0, then it matters. But if it's between 500,000 and 1 million, who really cares? It's more about the principle that this thing is happening at such a large scale. Regardless of the actual numbers, it doesn't really matter. It's the fact that it's happening. Am I crazy? Let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree. And also, how much do we actually trust these doctors to report this stuff accurately? I remember back in 2020, I don't want to say the name of the illness that was going on, but back in 2020, if you died and you had that illness inside of you, it was considered a death from that illness because apparently hospitals and everything got paid money per every death from that thing. So even if they found it inside of you when you die, even if that's not the cause of death, they would count it as a death from that illness so that they could get paid more money. Do we really trust that industry? Since that, I don't trust them at all. But of course, David Pakman does. Of course. And of course, he's not going to argue whether or not they should be given these things that Matt Walsh is talking about. He's going to argue that Matt Walsh is wrong on the numbers of his reporting on how many kids are getting these things. When in my opinion, it just doesn't matter that much.
I think so. But there's the first lie.
I read a report recently that there were over 1,000.
Oh, let me back up because now they're on to something else.
I can say for double mastectomies, I read a report recently that there were over 1,000 done between 2016 and 2019. And when you compare that to how many were done between, 2008 and 2015, it's a massive.
Okay, but that's 300 a year. Huh. That doesn't sound so high, does it? But that's not even really right. Let's continue.
Increase. And over 1,000 girls had gender-affirming double mastectomies in that time frame.
And when you say girls, you're talking about prepubescent.
If you enjoy content like this, then make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It really does help me out a ton. Let's get back to the video.
Right. Minors.
Oh, now did you see what just happened there? You're talking about prepubescent? Double mastectomies for prepubescent girls? We'll get back to that. That doesn't make sense either. And he goes, that's right, minors. Okay. Prepubescent and minor are two different things. I'm sure you know that. But did you see how slickly he slipped that in? I'll play it once more.
And over 1,000 girls had gender-affirming double mastectomies in that time frame.
And when you say girls, you're talking about prepubescent?
Right. Minors.
Right, minors. So two different things. Now, of course, you might say, do prepubescent girls have breasts? Can you even do a double mastectomy on a prepubescent girl? What exactly are you removing? And of course, if you research this, you start to find medical information about it. It is very rare that prepubescent girls actually have breasts. And you can read about what happens to the nipple. And okay, you're right. I mean, we don't need to go into detail about it.
I get the point that David Pakman's trying to make. I think facts do matter for sure. But if you take into consideration, like, the setting of this podcast, what Matt Walsh and Joe Rogan sat down and did was like a 3.5 hour long podcast. That's what Joe Rogan does. It's very casual conversation. He's not in a debate. His brain isn't super turned on and sharp. He's probably, there's probably a bunch of secondhand weed smoke in the air and, smoking cigars or drinking, whatever. He's not planning to get like scrutinized on these points. But also at the same time, like, does it really matter? Like, you could tell when somebody has a losing argument because they start to focus on the semantics of it. Did he say / mean minor or prepubescent? Does it matter if they are a minor, which encompasses all of that? Does it matter? Like, if these things are happening to minors, I don't think it matters whether or not they're prepubescent. And obviously, like David Pakman is saying, I don't think you can do that procedure to a prepubescent person. So it's like, it doesn't really matter. If he says minor, you kind of get what he's saying. I don't understand the semantics game. Actually, I do understand it. I know why he's doing it, but I don't get how this is the big win that these people are making it out to be. Let me know in the comments. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Matt Walsh is completely in the wrong here. I'm not some Matt Walsh simp. I don't think he's the greatest thing to ever happen to the world. I'm just kind of saying it how I see it, and I'll be happy to see that I'm wrong. Let me know in the comments.
About everything, but at face value, this doesn't make sense. Prepubescent girls who almost never have breasts are having their breasts removed. That's really weird. But then he slips in, right, these are minors. So you could actually be talking about a 17-and-a-half-year-old girl, not prepubescent, legally a minor. Completely different situation. Doesn't make anything right or wrong. But it's a completely different situation than what he claims.
And that's just up until 2019. And then we know that there's been this exponential increase with all this stuff year over year. So it's a lot. It's too many. Having this happen to one kid is
Says who?
way too many. It's a lot more than one.
Yeah. And look, if you're an adult and you want to do that and you understand who you are and what you are and this is how you feel you should progress, you're an adult. This is a free country. You should be able to do whatever you want. But when you're talking about doing that to children, the fact that so many people are on board and so many people are angry, if you have, like, people are going to be angry at us that we're having these conversations.
No. How could you be angry that they're having the conversation? The problem is that Walsh just lies.
Yeah, they will be. And I also, I actually think that that this shouldn't be happening to.
So now they've pulled up an article.
That's a very small number, if that's right.
It says over the last 5 years, there were at least 4,780 adolescents who started puberty blockers.
Okay. He said there are millions of adolescents on puberty blockers. They just found a study that says it's under 5,000 over 5 years. That's under 1,000 a year. He said millions. Study says it's under 1,000. Think about that.
And at a prior gender dysphoria diagnosis.
Under 1,000 a year. He said millions.
It's kind of undercounted, but that's
That would be a big
less than
undercounting.
1,000 people a year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would guess, hundreds of thousands.
Let me correct my wrong guess of millions, because you found that the real number is 900, and say it's probably hundreds of thousands. I can't now get away with saying it's millions because the data says it's 900. So let's just go with hundreds of thousands.
But I could be wrong.
You are wrong.
Million sounds great.
Yeah.
Well, like I said earlier, this is not a formal conversation. This isn't like a debate where Matt Walsh needs to be super sharp and there's somebody trying to prove every single word that he says wrong, like David Pakman's doing right now. But also, like I said, facts do matter. So I'm not saying that they don't matter, but at the same time, 5,000, 10,000, 500,000, it's still too many in my opinion. But yeah, facts do matter. So we should look at what the facts are. Like I said, though, do we trust the reporting of the, this institution anymore? I just don't know if I trust it. And I could be completely wrong. And like I said, let me know in the comments if I am completely wrong. I might be completely off base on this, but I just think David Pakman's trying to play this semantics game because he understands that the numbers are the only thing that he can really attack here. But what Matt Walsh and Joe Rogan are saying, it's not about the numbers. It's just about the fact that this is happening at all. And then David Pakman is like, since I can't really argue that point because it is kind of sick that this is happening at all to minors, I'm just going to argue that Matt Walsh got the numbers wrong. That's what it looks like to me. Could be completely wrong. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about this whole Matt Walsh and Joe Rogan versus David Pakman situation. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about it.